Hey everybody, it's a new year, 2026, and hopefully everyone made it through last year relatively unscathed. Today, we are going to be talking about resolutions, why we make them, and why typically they don't work. Out in the open, to the horizon, where your heart can finally breathe. Out in the open, to the horizon, baby, let your love run wild, wild, wild. You gotta get out there and explore, baby, let your love run wild, wild, wild. So welcome back to All Things Pink. And if you have been watching and or listening, and hopefully a subscriber, you know that here at All Things Pink, we talk about all things women over 40. We definitely promote wellness and reinvention and change at any age, at any time. So it's the new year, right? And we're going to be talking about resolutions. That old tradition of doing that every single year. So what am I doing? I look at resolutions just a little bit differently. I look at them more like transformations and strategies and goals and, making a continuous movement versus strict resolutions, if you will. Keeping that level of hope and knowing what you want and all of that, but not making unkeepable promises. So it's really important for me as I look forward to this year. I already have a lot of wellness routines in place, and I don't put strict guidelines on myself. But as always, I plan on taking a continuous inventory of where I'm at, where I'm going, what I'm doing, and working hard every single day to achieve steps and goals to get where I want to be. This year is going to be a really, really big year because I'm expanding my coaching business, as well as we are going to be launching some really awesome projects for wellness. That's the All Great Things components of the entire umbrella of everything that we do, including this podcast. So there's a lot of really cool projects coming up, and I'm really, really excited about that. It is a hell of a lot of work, but one of my resolutions, if you want to call it that, is to always remember myself in that whole complete picture of what's going on in the busy, times and the challenging times, to always remember me and what I need and to keep those wellness routines going. So that's typically what I do. And I look at it that again as just keeping a continuous inventory of where I'm at and where I want to be. So, what do you think the top resolutions that people make are? And typically they fall under three different categories. I mean, this is just typical, right? Physical, which is like, I want to lose this many pounds, or I want to go to the gym, or I want to, change this or that about our physical appearances. Or sometimes these are financial. I want to make a lot of money, or I want to get control over my budget, or what have you. And then there's the mental well-being, which is another really big category. And these are really broad, as you can tell. For example, what's funny is because they're broad, oftentimes they don't always turn out the way that we think we planned. So for example, it's interesting that right at the beginning of every year, gym memberships soar, right? So everybody's at the gym thinking, okay, I'm going to start this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go every day. And it's such a high expectation. And then all of a sudden by after or during first quarter, everything changes and it slows way back down and people drop off. And that is typically very normal. So resolutions definitely means something different for everyone. I'm not saying that this concept is good or bad. It can be great, it can be not so great. I think that the concept of resolutions is not inherently bad, to want to change, because we obviously promote changes, transformations, being well, like all of those things, helping us human beings grow. And growth is very, very important. It's good to evolve and consistently grow through things, whether that's, just life or challenges. So I'm not at all against resolutions. I think we should be altering maybe our perspective of them. So otherwise, the execution of them and the pressures and the reasons why behind them, it kind of sets people up for disappointment. And then we have a less than desirable outcome, or it's just not workable, right? So why do we do this? Well, in my experience, there's a promise of a fresh start, right? And everybody, that has gone through any challenge is like, could really use like a clean slate, right? I mean, that is, I think there's an allure behind that like it's just gonna, like, we're gonna wipe everything away and, you know, take away all the bad. But can you really wipe out the bad? And should you? Should you actually wipe out the bad? Because a lot of the bad things and challenges actually teach us. So I'm not really sure about that. I do think also they just use this one time for self-reflection, when self-reflection should be happening over long periods of time. Transformations are not a snap. So self-reflection, like I've talked about, gratitudes should be happening all the time. So if we kind of hone in on just this one time of the year, it might not work out so good. Because it's a tradition. Some people might do it because it's been a long-standing cultural norm that we all get all excited about this. External influences, people could kind of telling you that you must change, or it's pushed as a should, like you should do this. I feel that all of those types of reasons and the reasons why we do it, kind of a perspective shift really would make a better outcome to this. Because does this really have to be so hard, right? Why do we set ourselves up for negative outcomes? Why do we set ourselves up for pain, so to speak, or to be disappointed? If you just tweaking a few things about that ultimately could produce a much more positive outcome. So resolutions and goals, two different things. Resolution is, the decision to do or not do something. It's vague, it lacks detail, it's very binary. So it's either a yes or it's a no. So this is a kind of a unsupported deal that you've made with yourself, if you will. And it's kind of like focusing on the outcome rather than the steps, or the actual change. So, I will be a better person. I will lose 10 pounds. I will handle perimenopause better. They're very vague. It doesn't really tell you like how to get there. So with goals, I think that it's more important to focus on those goals because there's structure. There's plans to achieve results. There's specific, measurable, within a timeline. And I know that sounds all kind of like boring and scientific, if you will, and it's kind of really structured, but that's the good point about it. Because without planned goals, resolutions go where? And they don't really have a life. So if you don't have goals and structure attached to those broad resolutions, they're probably not going to get anywhere. So why do they fail? There's lots of different reasons why, those kinds of things fail, and stats really differ, but there's a range of failure. I don't really like to use that word, but it's like 80% or something. right? In like the first 2 months of the year. So like it's like less than 10% of people actually complete those types of kind of vague, broad resolutions. And maybe it's because we're looking at them wrong. What is a resolution and what is it not? So resolutions are not outrageous, unattainable types of things. They require honesty and acceptance of limits, and they need to be attainable. And that differs by the person, and that really depends on your perspective and in what you have the capacity to do. And they're also not things that you should be doing, or that someone's telling you that you should be doing and you don't really want to do in the first place. That's just not going to work. So really you got to figure out what you want before you can even kind of like throw that out into the universe. And if you haven't strategized or done any of that kind of preparatory work for those goals, again, I use the word goals, that's, is it even feasible for you? They're not guilt driven either. This is not like punishing you for not doing things in your life. There's no guilt and shame and these underlying things. If you're going to go at it, which a lot of people do, like they're being driven by guilt or shame, and it's not a punishment. Again, it should be called a goal so that it's not a punishment. They're not forced. Like this is not coming, it shouldn't be coming out of, forcible nature. And you're betting on yourself with these. You're trusting yourself. You're relying on yourself. Can you do that? Right? Can you bet on yourself? And is there accountability for this? Right? Like, is there accountability? Have you set up kind of either your own or other people to help support you in that? Sometimes these resolutions are based on this crazy enthusiasm, forced positivity, not authentic wants and capacity. And that's what's really, really important. And I think when any transformation that we're going through, whether it's like at the beginning of the year or throughout our life, there needs to be a want, authenticity, and to know our own capacity for things and to be okay with that. And because the aftermath of this, me personally, I think the aftermath of unattained resolutions or whatever is that if we don't achieve those high expectations of ourselves, then it bleeds into the whole concept of I am not good enough. I feel like a failure. I'm always falling short. And, how many people are already feeling this? Like, how many people, I feel like it's a lot, the high percentage of people that already struggle with these types of issues. Like, it's already there. So I feel like we already have enough of that. We have enough hardships and challenges and, obstacles that we need to overcome, and we already have so much of social media saying that we're not good enough, other people saying that we're not good enough, relationships saying we're not good enough, and this is how we're already feeling. So I feel like those forces are enough to contribute to this. We don't need any more things to make us feel like that. We don't need to be doing this to ourselves. Like, seriously, we don't. We're trying not to have these. We're trying to be transformative and achieve these things. But yet, if we make these unrealistic, it's just going to, drive us to feel worse. So I think that's a really bad idea. So in essence, we're trying to improve well-being of some kind. So when they don't pan out, we also tend to give up, right? Hence the like any type of resolution, the attendance at the gym falling off the scales, and so if you've had a resolution that you've given up or that it didn't pan out like you wanted it to, you should probably, and I just said should, you might want to figure out why. Did you actually want it? Did fear come in? Did you sabotage it? Did you go outside of your capacity? These are really good questions because when we're talking change, and resolutions typically indicate some kind of change that you want to make. Change is not easy, change is not quick. Change requires intention and, deliberate action and work. It's very deliberate, though. It's very intentional. And, you're working to break down conditioned behaviors, thoughts, things that sometimes have been engraved inside of you since childhood. So this is not easy work. Okay. None of it's easy, but I will say it's simple. And that's the concept that people are like, what? Like, what are you saying to me? It's simple because it's right there, right? It's challenging and not easy because there's a lot of deliberate, intentional work that goes into making it transpire. So, we need that want and we need that ability to work to affect change, or the resolutions are probably not going to pan out. And then we're all just going to feel really bad. But resolutions sometimes also address a deeper problem, a deeper issue, and that's also going to pose a problem with them if those are not worked out. So maybe that should be the goal. I don't know. Depends on the person. There's a lot of theories on change and, multiple stages, and you can talk about the 5 C's or 7 C's, or like we as coaches all have kind of a format and a curriculum that we go to help people change. But there's different levels and you got to find what works for you. Change can be really exciting. I say welcome it. I say welcome the deliberate, intentional hard work that goes into that change because it's extraordinarily rewarding. And we all want to live a better life. So, let's be good to ourselves and give ourselves a fighting chance and make goals that are attainable that we can reach throughout the year, and then, kind of build on to the next year, and the next year we can watch ourselves grow and transform. So how do we do this, right? Well, very first thing that anyone might want to do is to ask yourself a ton of questions and be honest with yourself. And that's okay. Be okay with what your capacity is. Take little steps. Analyze how you're feeling, becoming like identifying where you are and where you need to be is first, like top of the list. Creating an awareness about yourself and where you are and where you want to be is also top billing, right? You got to do that. You got to know all of these things and then create attainable steps, even if they're teeny tiny. You create those steps and goals and you make that plan and you strategize that plan and you get help on the way. One of the really important things I think to do is to make sure that you have supportive measures, whatever's going to hold you accountable, whether that's, a coach or a friend, a peer, a colleague, like anyone, right? Or anything, that's going to keep you on track. It's always a very good idea to do because, again, change is hard. It's not easy. But taking those steps, identifying that steps, it creates some simplicity in what you're doing. So that's super really important. So as we get into this new year and you kind of look at what you've put out for yourself, make sure that you're good to yourself, that you're treating yourself well, and that you have really good, solid, defined goals. And it's never too late to change those. So that's always a good idea too. Go ahead and revamp what you're doing. You can do it anytime. Do it all the time. So that's super important. If you have trouble with that, you have people that you can go to. If you don't, there's all kinds of resources everywhere to help you kind of strategize your goals for the year, right? Super easy. So I hope every single one of you has a beautiful 2026 and that your goals come to fruition. I know I'm working really hard for mine to be successful. So I'm really excited for this new year, and I hope you are too. And I hope this helped even just a little bit in just some small way, that it helps you like realign your future year. Now, thank you guys so much for watching. I do want to take a minute to let you know that we are temporarily going to be moving our podcast to a bi-weekly schedule because of these super exciting projects that I've already told you about with our wellness programs and the coaching business and all of this great stuff coming in 2026. We'll be temporarily moving it to a bi-weekly release. Thank you guys again so much for watching All Things Pink. And you can listen on Apple and Spotify. But if you are watching on YouTube, please become a subscriber so you don't miss out on anything. And thank you again for your support. And we'll see you next time here on All Things Pink. You gotta get